Hey, 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 hey!
It's about to get crazy. It's about to go down. It's about to get crazy. It's gonna be loud. This is our house. We do what we wanna. We'll blow the roof up. Everybody's coming. It's about to get crazy. It's about to go down. It's about to go down.
You are listening to the Gritty Podcast, where we talk about all things gritty. Life is not easy. Life isn't fair. It never was, and it never will be. A good life takes grit, because the best things in life come from hard work, sacrifice, resolve, determination, and perseverance. Because grit means never quitting. It means coming back time and time again until you succeed. So on this show, we talk hunting, we talk outdoors, we talk conservation, we talk family and life. We talk fitness, and we talk strength, strength of body, strength of mind, and strength of character. Prioritize who you are and who you want to be. Get gritty, because life isn't fair, and a little grit can make all the difference. All right, folks, welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I'm here with Ryan Carter.
What's up?
Excited to have you back on. We did that podcast just last week about elk and got a lot of response, and I didn't feel like the conversation was done. Like, I wanted to have you back in to dive down this elk hunting, big bull hunting
Any
rabbit
elk
hole.
hunter can sit in a coffee shop and BS all day.
All day.
Yeah.
All day. So we booked this evening in the office here. It's after hours.
Yeah.
And the wife and kids are off doing whatever, and we have the freedom to talk for hours.
Mine are shopping. The Mountain Ops guys are gone. We got this place to ourselves.
That's right.
It's awesome. I like it.
So I want to dive right in. We're going to talk about big bulls that you have discovered over the years, ones that have evaded you, ones that you have solved the puzzle on, and just a little bit of all around case study, information on a few big bulls that you've tracked, because I think it's very informational.
Well, it's, I hunt different than everybody. So I'm not going in after the same bull that I saw during the rut last year. These bulls I kind of patterned through the summer, and I have lots of trail cam pics of. So there is I gained this history with them that a lot of guys don't see. Mm-hmm. And so, I have some insight on some of them, but a lot of them, if I had the right kind of insight, they'd be dead. They're not dead. So there's some bulls I can talk a lot about, especially the dead ones, because I figured them out. But there's a lot of them. They're still a mystery.
Let's start with one.
All right. Which one do you want to go with?
Because I hunted with Kyle Ostrand up there and Primitive with Jeff Lander this fall for black bear.
Yeah.
And Kyle and I hunted every day together. And I was with him when he shot his bear, which, by the way, we didn't make it into the film with the footage, but I'm putting it in as this bonus footage that I'm releasing in 2 weeks. Okay. I'm putting a bunch of hunting film out for basically 4 weeks of probably 3 to 5 film videos a week. Mm-hmm. And so it's like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're going to get gritty stuff every day.
Cool.
On YouTube. But Kyle shot this bear, and he had to shoot through some thick brush to get this. And he's like, "There's no shot." I'm like, "There's a shot. Make a shot." Like I'm in his ear going.
You're rushing him.
He's like, "Are you sure?" He's at full draw, and the bear is it's thick.
Yeah.
British Columbia. And I'm like, just take one step right. So he's at full draw, and I'm like, don't trip, don't fall, don't actually shoot. And he moved a little to the right and got a little window through the brush, and he's sizing it up. He's like, "You think I'll clear that branch?" And I'm like looking, and we'll take one step lower, and he's in position. I'm like, "Okay, Kyle, take your time, but don't take too long."
Yeah.
And he smacked it. Just the perfect shot. And it hit a couple branches along the way.
Dang.
And just smack, 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 and then boom. And we weren't sure. Went back and watched the footage, and it's a really cool video. But that just goes down to, this is the case in every hunting scenario. It seems like nothing's perfect. Like there's always, I'm shooting from a seated position in a weird angle, or I'm shooting through a tight set of branches, or he's walking and he's not stopping. I've been at full draw for a minute.
Yeah, 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Like those things seem to, that's just the real world scenario. And you have to be able to adapt and make compromises in that moment and still try to capitalize.
You're not shooting a cow in a pen. Like,
yep.
That's part of hunting. The execution's the critical point. Kyle, in that respect.
Kyle was awesome. So I'm very curious what it was like hunting with Kyle, but also MJ. Tell us about MJ.
Okay. So, MJ is a bull that he lived in an area that I probably know the best. As far as the area I'm hunting, I've been hunting where MJ lives since I was in high school. So it's been 20 something years. I've known this country. He was just kind of this bull that sat on the sidelines for a long time. Our first pictures of him, I was going through him today, was in 2011. The first time he looked fairly impressive was 2013, maybe a 360 type bull. 2015, just unreal impressive.
Really?
Now, 2015, I had a rifle hunter. We had another bull we were chasing. He wasn't there. Had we maybe spent a little more time, it may be possible, but as I said in the last podcast, I'm not great. The rut's not great for trophy hunting. And so we didn't spend a lot of time in there.
Before you move on,
yeah,
can you describe the terrain that you're in? Because I think that's applicable.
Well, and that's one of the hardest parts about that bull. And so that was my hard part with MJ. So like I said, so I'll just go back to where I was and get kind of into that.
Okay.
16 was the year that MJ was kind of there. 16 was the year that we thought we should probably try to kill him. But as it moved into season, as MJ started rolling around, just like 15, he busted off his G4 and G5 on his left side, both in 15 and 16. And immediately MJ came off the table, where even though he was a 390 something bull, he was big. And even at that, I had an area where we consistently got pictures of him, but I knew nothing about that bull besides that. I knew this little spot where he constantly came in. So I had posted a picture of MJ around Valentine's Day in 17. And Kyle hit me up on social media. Like, how do we kill this bull? This is the bull. I want to meet you. Let's talk. He came to the expo. That bull was what was on the table. That's what was in mind. He didn't buy the tag. It went for too much money. The person that did buy the tag was with me. Eventually that person wanted to sell the tag, which played well in Kyle's favor.
And so when you say buy the tag, explain that.
Well, Utah has a lottery system for its limited entry quota tags. They set aside, so say there's 30 tags for limited entry hunters, and that unit usually requires 20 to 25 years of putting in.
Yep.
It's one of the hardest in the state to draw. But because there's 30 tags, they take 10%, set it aside to auction off to get money for conservation for the state.
Yep.
So they have these auctions at, I don't know, banquets. Most of these tags get sold at the Western Hunt and Conservation Expo in Salt Lake. So someone bought the tag. Now you can resell the tag. Like all you're buying is a voucher for the permit. You just can't sell it for more money than what you paid. Kyle ended up getting a discount, which is awesome. Kyle is an amazing, just genuine person.
Yeah, he is. One of the nicest human beings I've ever come across.
It is unreal.
Like, I'm like, Kyle, can you be mean? Like, is it in your system?
And what's crazy to me is he works with roughnecks.
Oh,
his industry.
He's a neat guy.
The hardest people on the planet. It's unreal. it's just fascinating to me what a good person he is. So anyway, he gets the tag. That's the bull on the table. That's the one he wants.
Yes.
I knew I had my work cut out for me because I only had pictures of him in this one spot. And now I know the spot very well. The terrain is tucked right up against some cliffs, really high elevation, 10,000. Well, he ran from 8.7 to 10.3.
8,000 feet to 10,003.
Yep.
Before you go on, I just want to make a brief comment about the auction tags. Just because I know people that listen that they get upset over that kind of thing.
Right.
And, what I want to say about that is at the end of the day, I care about the wildlife. I care about our fish and wildlife agencies being able to do the best they can for the wildlife. And when you have 3 tags set aside, that makes some people angry.
Yep.
Because those could have gone to somebody that in the state that
had 25 points, 20 years of putting in.
Right.
I agree.
At the same time, what does these tags go for?
The archery typically sells around 25, rifle 50, premium 75.
So you're talking about
those 4 tags typically bring in about $150,000 for the state.
So unless we have some other way of, drumming up $150,000 for the state, I think that it's a wise use of the resource.
I agree.
And we're still taking the other, 27 tags or whatever, and distributing them among everybody else. So to me, it's a nice balance. It's a good decision. It's a wise use of resources.
And when people get angry with me, I tell them, I said, look, man, the nice thing is you have that opportunity too. And give yourself 5 years, tuck away $5,000 every year. You're going to have that archery tag. Like,
if you want to pay $25,000 for it,
why be mad at it? Take it as an opportunity.
Yeah.
There's tags in Utah that I buy them all the time for $6,000 to $8,000.
Well, yeah,
$6,000 to $8,000. Sell one 4-wheeler. You got an elk tag.
Yeah, and it's not like Kyle just was automatically wealthy.
Right.
Like,
oh yeah,
you're talking about a guy working his butt off day in and day out and doing all the things right and sacrificing.
Managed his money.
He's not
just
going
like
to the
we need
movies.
to,
He's
right?
not spending his money stupidly. He's not doing all these other things that he's putting it into what he's doing so he could do this thing we're talking about, which we should be grateful for because it helps all of us at the end of the day. I'm glad there's those wealthy guys out there who can step up and are willing to do that for wildlife. So anyway, that tangent gone. Continue on. He would range between 8,000 and 10,000 feet.
Yeah, and the thing is my pictures came from one spot. So all of a sudden, knowing that was the bull he wanted, I had a lot of work cut out for me because, like I said in the last podcast, I try to pattern my bulls. All elk have a rotation. They kind of through the summer, right? Through the summertime, they have a rotation, places they like to go, and then they meet up in those spots certain times. If I can find that rotation and I can find just some kind of pattern to it, a lot of them are made killable. Those bulls we'll talk about today that have a really tight rotation, like 4 to 5 miles, and I'll get them in 9 different spots. Or like right now, I was telling people I have a bull, probably one of the bulls people like to see on my Instagram the most, named Chunky Monkey. He hits 11 of my cameras right now. And I'll take into account which ones are day cameras, which ones are night cameras, how far between those shots he's gone, and try to figure out like his whole route. And the thing about Chunky is he doesn't run like MJ ran benches. And he would stay at 8,700 feet, and then he would crank up to 9.2, then 10, and level out, and then drop all the way back down to 8.7. And whereas Chunky runs a ridge and then back up another ridge every day. Like all those cameras are hitting just specific spots on ridges rather than a big rotation of benches. He's running ridges like a whitetail in Iowa. Whereas, so they all have personalities. They're all a little bit different. Now, MJ I couldn't find his complete rotation. I put almost 40 cameras. I think we were 34 cameras trying to find MJ's rotation and never did it. But what I did find on his rotation was that he would be in a certain area of cameras. Say he's hitting 7 cameras for 7 days, and then he was gone and be back exactly 10 days later. 2 different times through the summer. So I had him hitting for 7 days and then gone. And then 10 days later exactly starting at the same point on that rotation of 7 days and then gone again. So
you had like a part of his rotation figured out.
But I knew the day pattern. I knew kind of where he'd like to hit during the daytime. Of those 7 cameras, I kind of knew, he'd be out this day, he'd be in this day. Unfortunately for Kyle, walking into the stand one morning, he bumped the bull. Like, seriously, in the dark, an hour before light, walked head into him. This is the cool thing about Kyle. I would have had a hard time not shooting that bull. He's laying there in the dark. Kyle had his bow, his quiver, his release. And, he sat and watched the bull and just reveled in the fact that he just saw a 420-inch bull. That was what was amazing to him. He comes back to the camp and he's telling me, and I'm shaking my head, and he's like, did I make the wrong decision? I said, no, you made the right thing. You did good. We'll get him. But now we're 10 days out. I knew right then, like, okay, day 13. Like, I don't know if you want to go home. Do you want to risk it and sit? Like, maybe he'll come back. Kyle sat. He's the most patient person on the planet. And that's exactly what happened. Was day 13 is when he came back. So it was a crazy deal, but that was the only way we locked that bull down.
So what's your take on the fire bull story?
Wait, as far as?
So like with Eric Chesser, he wounds that bull, but stays in the same spot.
Yep.
And that bull comes back how many days later? Do you remember?
It seemed like it was about 10. He went.
And that doesn't surprise you?
No, they have their spots, right? So, I mean, as far as MJ goes, that's the most of the story. It was one of the remote areas. It's probably one of my best accomplishments was trying to find a pattern on that bull because the area he was in is next to impossible.
Well, that's what I was going to ask is, let's say a guy finds a giant bull. Normally what I would do, like in Colorado or something, is I would be glassing from a high point in these open above timberline ridges where these things would follow, and I'd kind of track his behavior and all of that. Right. Do you have that kind of visibility where you're at?
No, it's a plateau. So I have absolutely no glassing points. That part of the area, that mountain, I don't even carry binoculars because if I can see them, I know what bulls they are. I can already say who he is walking in based on width and tine length. And I already kind of know what they are. So that area, I don't even carry binoculars.
Got it.
So,
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So MJ was a huge accomplishment for me personally, even though I didn't pull the trigger on that bull. I didn't do the sacrificing 19 days Kyle did.
Yeah.
What Kyle did was amazing on its own. What I did was amazing to me personally. So that's why that bull's special to me, not the inches. The inches was cool. The fact that he grew 25 more inches between 16 and 17 is pretty freaking amazing.
How old do you think MJ was?
Well, 11 in 2011, he looked to be maybe 4.5. Okay. So, and we killed him 17. So 10.5, 11 years old.
Okay. And what did he score?
Well, Kyle, he was broken. So he'd already chipped off 9 inches of points, and his official score was 412 gross.
Jeez.
So I had replicas made from my house.
Whoa. Dang.
The replicas score 421.
Jeez. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Dang. Okay. So how did you kill him? How did Kyle get him? What's the story there?
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit. I set him up where I had daytime pictures of him. And this was a tight spot, 40-yard max on the shot. It was a dry wallow. I was kind of on a pinch on the bench he liked to travel. I think he spent his first, I don't even remember, maybe 10 days in there.
Okay.
Before we decided, like he was just going crazy. Like you're not seeing elk. It's not like a high traffic area. On the next bench, maybe not even 300 feet above, is a big meadow where the elk are walking through every day. So we moved Kyle up there because MJ crossed through there too. We set him up to where he had good wind. So the wind was never an issue. He kind of sat back in a pinch. It was a perfect little spot. The problem is MJ never walked through that spot. He kind of hit the far side of those meadows, and he crossed with the wind in his face all the time. The way he entered and the way he exited, the wind was in his face.
Okay.
There was just no possible way until we decided to take a risk. I think he had been back in. Like I said, he was on 7 days, right? I think it was day 5 when we finally said, screw this. We can't, because Kyle's sitting in that tree stand every day watching that bull with his cows. Right. Rifle range,
just
done,
out of range.
117 yards,
right.
But with a bow, dude, he's out. So we took a risk. We built a blind. We put in those onyx that we talked about. Kyle shot through a tight spot. He actually hit a limb and hit him a little far back, caught the back end of his lungs and hit his liver. So he didn't die fast. It took us a little bit to find. Sean DeGray said a prayer, literally stood up from his prayer, walked 5 feet and found him. So
why is that not surprising with Sean?
Oh, no doubt, right? Like
he's who you
Sean
want on your team.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a super good guy. But I think they're giving away that truck tonight. I want to see.
Oh, the Leopold.
Yeah.
Yes. For the Total Archery Challenge.
Yep. So that's cool.
And just a tangent. That was, you got entered to win if you hit the target on the novelty shot, which has how about
111 yards?
111 yards. Everyone who hit the dot got entered. So how many people total were in the running? Do you know?
I think there was 43 arrows, but there were a couple guys that hit it multiple times. I think there was 33 guys and 43 entries. So there was a guy in Texas that had like 3 or 4. I think there was a guy here in Utah.
So you're saying you're saying roughly there are some people that have a 2 in 40.
Yeah.
Something chance.
I think there's one that has a 5 in 40 chance.
And the other guys have a 1 in 40.
Yeah.
So not bad odds if you can hit that dot.
Oh,
I mean, it's almost worth spending some money to win a truck.
Well, and 110 yards isn't.
No, I mean, I hit the bullseyes at 118,
I mean, you can't
125.
hit the edge. You can't hit. You have to be clear of the edges of the 12 ring.
Yeah.
It's not line included.
Yeah.
So it's tight.
Yeah.
But my one buddy, I think he spent. I think he did 20 arrows. I don't remember. I think you're $10 or $8 an arrow. Yeah. He did 20 arrows, but he got entered in.
A couple $100.
He's 4 or 5 times. So he's a 1 in 8 chance on winning that truck.
That's pretty legit.
Well, he
that
shoots
Leopold
for Hoy,
truck,
and he's just like
that Leopold truck is pretty sweet. So anyway, back to the elk. So, tell me this. Tell me about a bull that you have not figured out, that you've been obsessed with.
Well, so we could talk about the bull I talked about on the first podcast with you. We call him the gritty bull now.
Yes.
Well, because I talked about him. So, and every time I post him, it's reposted 100 times. He's one of the biggest typicals I've ever seen pictures of. We got him in 14. I would only get 3 or 4 pictures a year. And that's it. And the crazy thing is where that camera is, I have cameras all around it, and I wouldn't catch him. And I knew he came back because then the next year I'd get him in the same spot, almost the same date.
Really?
But still miss all these other cameras.
So you got cameras, nearly 40 cameras, trying to figure out where he's staging or where he's coming from before he hits that camera you get him on, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, MJ, I had like 37 cameras or so running on him. This gritty area, we might have had 8 or 10 tops running in there. And it's one of my favorite spots. I get a lot of my hit lister bulls in there. So 15, 16, I only got a couple pictures of him. with his head turned. And the only way I knew it was him was the way his G3s hung out. And because I wasn't even 100% sure it was him. But then we found him dead last year. And he's still sitting up there on the mountain, just turning white. Gritty's dead.
Dang.
But he's a bull I couldn't figure out. I couldn't figure out how he was getting into the middle camera and missing the other 8 unless he just walked through the gnarliest, nastiest mountain ever. I couldn't figure out why. And if I could figure out his entrance and his exit, then I could have moved to the next spot and put another camera in the next spot and put another camera. But I couldn't get his entrance or exit. I just had these pictures where he showed up for 3 on a 3-picture burst. Boom, boom, boom. And then he's gone for a year.
What's your theory then? And how did he die?
That area is a burn.
Mm-hmm.
And I see those bulls walk through the burn. What happens with these burns? It's a whole mountainside gone. And I've hunted that burn since the burn, because the elk move in and they love it. The problem is the sapling aspens come in, and each year they get thicker and thicker, but those bulls are used to those trails, and they will and then as those aspens get thicker, the roots to the old burn trees that are still standing start to fall, and it turns into this, what's that game? Jenga? Remember Jenga?
It's like Desolation Unit in Oregon.
Gosh,
like
dude.
You're describing the exact thing.
I don't even touch the ground when I walk through there.
Nope.
I walk on trees.
Yep.
Just like a bear would.
Yep.
And
like Lincoln logs, just boom in stacks with. Then you got shoots like we have jack pines that are just growing through that, and it becomes a wall of dense jack pines with fallen logs everywhere.
That's crazy.
And you're walking logs.
Elk love it, and it's a cool place.
But elk can walk right through it. I've seen them. Just walk through it.
It's crazy. And I mean, it's hard to even understand because their horns are so big and their bodies are so big.
Do you think he entered that way?
I think he did. That's the only thing that makes sense to me is he was coming through a couple of the nasty spots in the burn and leaving through a couple of the nasty spots because he wasn't walking the easy trails.
Why would he do that?
I don't know if it was old age. Maybe he was super smart. Because my first pictures of him were 14 and he was a 390 plus bull.
Right now on the mountain in white, how big is he?
I probably put him about that. He's not very wide. He's only 38 or so wide. I don't think he even cracks the 40 mark. He's just awesome. 15 was his biggest year. Mm-hmm. Are you going to post any of these pictures?
Yeah, I'd love to. Mm-hmm.
Or put them on the video?
Yeah.
I'll send them over, and I'll see if I can't get...
I'll put them at the beginning of the podcast, so anybody who listens can just go watch the first few minutes, and you'll see the photos.
So Wes Hogan probably has the best 15 pictures of him. That was his biggest year, and I think he was pushing 4 or 5, 4 to 410 as a straight 6.
Really?
At 38 inches wide.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So... how does that, does that just frustrate you?
That what?
That
he died?
That he died?
I think someone shot him with an arrow. I don't know. I wasn't in there. He was killed the year Donna killed her bull, and we were chasing her bull down in the low country. Mm-hmm. And so I wasn't pursuing any elk up in that country.
Do you think he was killed by a hunter?
I do.
Not old age, not like injury.
Where he was, that's his summer ground. Mm-hmm. He never rutted in there ever. I just know he didn't because that's where I hunt the heaviest.
Yeah.
So I know he migrated out of there, and just the fact that he's laying there dead, he's still when I looked at the horns,
early.
It looked like the velvet had been gone, but all the knobs are there, which means he hadn't rubbed on trees a ton. He was killed early.
That's archery season.
Yeah, I think someone shot him with a bow. And I never looked for a pass through. I'm gonna get comments on this, so I'm gonna say it. It's not that I don't have faith in our DWR. They have a system in Utah that you don't have to report deadheads, but they ask you to report deadheads. Mm-hmm. I turned in some deer years back that the state didn't return back to me. They thought they were a poaching case. They opened up stuff. Now they're mounted in the head office in Salt Lake City at their North Temple office. They never even gave me a chance to like go bid for them at an auction, or I didn't poach the animal. I don't know why I get punished.
Right.
So my personal feeling is on that. I would rather see that bull rot. I don't believe he was poached. I don't think I'm a bad person because of it. I don't like the system Utah has in place. And I've spoke my mind about it many times because I don't think sportsmen should be punished.
So if they're shed hunting, if they're out there and you find a dead head, you'd like to be able to keep it.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is by law, you have to report it.
You don't have to.
Well,
but they would like you to.
Yeah. But can you take it?
No. That's the thing. You can call the state. They can send a officer out. He'll inspect it. He decides what is legal or not, and then he'll send it home. Now,
so
the state
at their discretion, they could let you have it.
Yep. It's at the officer's
But
discretion.
generally, you found that doesn't work out, or at least in your
Back in the day,
experience, it did not work
now
out.
I've seen a lot better response by our state to sportsmen lately, the last 2 or 3 years, especially because of social media.
Yeah.
They have made an extra effort to try to get those animals back to the guys that found them.
The theory being, I assume, that what they're concerned with is someone shoots it and then claims that they found it.
Yeah. And
then
that's valid, right?
Then
like,
they get this dead head, and they're like, yeah, I just found it. It's been dead for a month, but they really poached it,
shot it, or
so they're trying to dissuade that kind of block that kind of action taking place. I'm sure that's probably what it's rooted in, but I have issues with that because I don't like designing laws around
criminals.
Yeah. I don't like designing laws around people it's like, for example, people said a lot of times, like with this lighted knock, we need to ban the lighted knock or the Bluetooth knock because if someone's going to just use it to shoot one in the butt and then track it, first of all, Bluetooth doesn't work more than 50 yards anyway. So it's just going to help you when you're right on top of it, you know? But the idea that we should ban, it's like saying for me, the logic only goes so far. It's like saying, okay, well, we should ban guns because someone might shoot somebody with one.
Yeah.
Someone might murder somebody with one.
Well, and same with our
we should ban
sights,
cars,
right? That it's too much technology. I'm like, my Garmin sight is more technology than a rifle. What are you talking about?
Right. Or it's more technology than a modern compound bow with the elite limbs and wheels. And there's nothing about a compound bow that isn't hyper advanced.
Right.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense to me either. But I think, I don't like banning things like a car because people might drive recklessly. Banning things like a gun because people might drive recklessly.
Right.
You don't make the entire population
suffer because
or make something illegal because you're afraid someone might abuse the law or abuse a situation. So I struggle with that. In this case, if you find something like that in the wilderness, I believe you should be able to keep it. And what you're doing is you're punishing 99% because a few people might do something.
I understand the law.
But think about it. I mean, your $150,000 in auction tags are occurring because those animals are walking around. Mm-hmm. But to me, it's like, well, if one gets how many times is that going to happen? I mean, And
at that, I wouldn't believe, I don't know what happened to this elk. I'm not going to pretend to even have the slightest clue other than the fact that I know where he was killed was his summer ground. Mm-hmm. Right. But I do know.
I think if someone poaches it, they're not going to tell somebody.
Well,
they're not going to call Fish and Wildlife.
I just think someone got an excited shot off at a huge bull.
Yeah.
And he
people take shots every year.
He ran downhill to water, which is right where he was. He's running downhill to water, and eventually his liver, his gut, or whatever they hit, he expired. And there might be an arrow there might not. That I don't know how the division would decide it. Check a metal detector, but just because of my experience, I would rather see that bull lay there and rot. And I can stop in and see it whenever I want. Hey, there's Gritty, But I just don't like the system. I wish it was a little bit better, but I don't, at the same time, I didn't kill that bull, so I don't have a lot of connection to him other
Yeah.
than my pictures on camera,
Yeah.
which are very cool. And it is just what it is.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I want to take a little break, and I want to split these podcasts up just so people can, kind of consume them in different chunks. So I just want to thank people for listening to this one. We're tuning into the next one. We'll publish another one in a day or two, and we're going to cover some more of these experiences you've had with these specific bulls. So
do I need to go change my shirt like it's another day?
no, you could keep that one on, but I need to take a leak, and I'm hungry. So
All right, let's do that.
thanks for tuning in, folks. Stay gritty.
Yep.
Despite our ever-changing, ever-indignant world with its growing ignorance of and indifference to the ways of the wild, I remain a predator, pitying those who revel in artificiality and synthetic success while regarding me and my kind as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood. I stalk a real world of dark wood and tall grass stirred by a restless wind blowing across sunlit water and beneath star-strewn sky. And on those occasions when I choose to kill, to claim some small part of nature's bounty for my own, I do so by choice, quickly, with the learned efficiency of a skilled hunter. Further, in my heart and mind, I know the truth and make no apologies for my actions or my place in time. Others around me may opt to eat only plants, nuts, and fruits. Still others may employ faceless strangers to procure their meats, their leather, their feathers, and all those niceties and necessities of life. Such is their right, of course, and I wish them well. All I ask in return is no one begrudge me, and all of us who may answer the primordial stirrings within our hunter souls, my right to do some of these things myself. What you just heard is a quote from M.R. James. We truly live in a world that is largely ignorant and indifferent to the ways of the wild. And although some regard us as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood, we have the opportunity to change the way these people view the hunter and the hunt. We can share our experiences and nature's bounty with those who employ these faceless strangers. And by so doing, we make a difference, not just for ourselves, but for the wild animals in the wild places we care so deeply about. Never stop sharing your passion for hunting and the outdoors. Our wild animals and our wild places depend on it.
This is Ty Stubblefield, and you're listening to The Gritty Bowman.
Gritty Bowman.